to the last drop. Are you gonna blow your head off? Take good aim and don't forget to duck. Life sucks every Monday and all the way to Sunday, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I don't care how you're doing, what's up or how's it hanging. I'd like to buy this world one last drink. Life sucks all of the time, stick it up your sunshine, and then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day.
Welcome to the Crazy Life, everybody. My name's Jen. I'm the hostess for the evening, and with me, as always, we have Bryan and Heno. Hi, guys.
Hello.
So, how's everybody's week? Who should we start with? Silence. Crickets. All right.
Where's the cricket sound? Where's the cricket sound?
Yeah.
Where's my soundboard?
Yeah, I don't have a soundboard either.
Fine. I will start.
All right, kick us off. You got all the good news. So.
Right.
I do have good news. For those of you who have been listening, I have been struggling trying to get another job. My last one ended on unfortunate circumstances. But today I got the good news that I have a new job. Woo-woo!
Woo. See, again, we need the soundboard because we need the professor from Futurama. Good news, everyone.
He's good.
Except when he says it, it's never good news. So I guess maybe we don't. I don't know.
Yeah, there's that too.
Yeah.
But no, the good part of the job, it's in a field that I've been wanting to explore further, that I have a little experience in, and the location is right around the corner from where I live. So yeah, it's all in all, it's a good thing. I do have to wear a uniform again, though, which is kind of an odd thing for a professional arena. But yeah, why not, right?
Yeah.
As long as I don't have to worry about wearing the flare. We were talking a little bit earlier about that. Because I have to not brick flare.
Oh.
Office Space flare.
Oh.
For those of you who have not seen that movie, go out. You have to rent it or download it.
I don't know how you haven't watched Office Space by this point. Come on.
You have to. There's a conversation around flare that's just too important not to miss. So I'll leave it with that. And my win for the week, gosh, this is kind of a tough one, trying to think of what my win is. You know what my win for the week is? My win for the week is valuing myself and knowing my value, knowing what my experience and my knowledge is worth, and asking for it. Because originally they came back and they said that they made me an offer, and I thought about it, and I said, you know what, can you do any better? And I gave them reasons why. You know, I didn't just say, yeah. I broke it down, and I said, you know, I've got this experience, this experience, this experience. I've got 17 years under my belt. You know, I was making this at my last position. Is there any way you guys can meet me? And they went back, talked to their peoples, and came back to me and said, yes, they can meet me at where I was asking. So, yay, value me!
Yep. Golf clap.
Yep.
So that's my win for this week. All right. I've given you time to think. Who's going next?
Oh.
All right, Bryan.
All right, I'll go next. Yeah.
You spoke.
Yeah, we're both so thrilled to jump in.
Yeah, I know, right?
It's just like in class. You sneeze, you get called on.
Yeah, I know. That's about the way it was, too. I don't really have much for this week. I was trying to think of what's gone on, and it's been pretty uneventful other than, I went to the neurologist. Things have seemingly going okay with the migraine medicines. I've had less migraine since being on it, which is certainly a good thing.
Right.
And, you know, since they upped the antidepressant for me, you know, I think I'm past the initial wave of that, which is certainly a good thing because, you know, the first 2 weeks of those are never any fun. So now I can actually start analyzing, like, you know, if it's worth staying on or if it's worth, you know, moving off of it or if I need a higher dose or whatever now. So I don't know how that'll be. That'll probably be, you know, I just basically passed 2 weeks on it, so it's still too early for that. But I was trying to think what my win for the week was, but I don't know. I listened to a podcast this week. I'm going to just jump into this real quick because this is kind of an interesting thing to me. I was listening to a TED Talk about happiness. And there's a scientist who has an app. I'm trying to. I don't know the name of the app. It just says happiness on my phone, but I don't think that's what it's called. But to get it, at least for iPhone, I don't know what it comes up as for like Android users, if it's available even. But if you go to trackyourhappiness.org, it'll take you. You know, there's a link from there. You can go to the store. And basically what this app does is it sends you a message like various points through the day and it asks you a couple of questions. It asks you basically stuff like, what are you doing? Are you interacting with people? Are you, you know, it asks you to rate your level of happiness. And what it does is it's basically collecting data. And then after a few days, it starts to show you what activities you're doing and where you're showing that you're happiest and least happy doing, you know, and stuff. So I've only been doing it for a couple of days, so I don't have quite enough to, you know, the first one that showed me, or that showed up is basically not really revealing a whole lot because it, you know, it's only had like 3 days. But I think it'd be more interesting for people who are working and doing you know, different activities, because it'll show, you know, it can show you that you're really happiest when you're doing this. And one of the questions is like, whatever you're doing, it's like, if you could basically fast forward to the end without any negative repercussions, would you? And that kind of thing, or, you know, to rate the people you're interacting with on a scale, you know, and different stuff. And it's to try to help you pinpoint things that make you happier, to show you that sometimes, I think the end result is to kind of show you the things that you think aren't making you happy really aren't as bad as you think they are. You know, that kind of a thing. But it's kind of I don't really know how to describe it. But anyway, it was NPR had they have like a TED Talk hour or something like that. And that's what it was. It was from the scientist and he was talking about happiness. So I grabbed the app just to kind of, you know, take a listen or take a look at it and see what it does. So I'll talk about it again more next week and see if it shows anything interesting to me next week. But I thought it'd be kind of cool to, you know, like if anyone's listening and they want to do it and then maybe tell us some of their results, you know, anonymously even, you know, like send them to us via email or something, you know, it'd be kind of an interesting thing. Like if you have anything that was revealed to you that you were surprised by or something, might be kind of cool.
Yeah,
what a great sounding tool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like it goes into also like checking in.
Yep.
You know, and being conscious of where you're at, how you feel. And those are, you always talk about those tools.
Yeah.
You know, those are useful tools, and what a great way to throw it all together.
Yeah. And it sends it to you and it wants you to answer it right now. Like, and if you don't answer it now, basically, like say I answered it, I got one like right before we recorded. And if I say put it off till we were done, it would say, try to remember back to, you know, an hour ago. How did you feel then? You know, and it's trying to hit so that it's going to also kind of track different points through the day to see if you can find where you're happiest and, you know, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So I'm very curious to see what kind of data it ends up, you know, crunching. And it's all anonymous. You don't put a name with it or whatever. It's, you know, so. I mean, it is part of a scientific study. Like when you sign up for it, it does say right in there that your data is being collected for a scientific study.
Cool.
So.
That is cool.
Mm-hmm.
It'll also show how unhappy people are at work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Happy at home, unhappy
Well,
at work.
that's why I
at
said
home.
I actually think there's going to be there could be a lot of surprised people. I think there's a lot of people that may realize they're not as unhappy at work as they think they are.
Yeah.
Because it might catch you in a point where you're like, I'm not that unhappy, and you log that, and then it starts showing that through the day at work that you're not as that you're not rating it like, say, 0 or whatever, that you're like, because it'd be like, would you rather be doing something else? Well, of course I would, but whatever. But those are the answers I think will be the most interesting.
Yeah.
All right. So what's your win for the week?
Yeah, I don't really know. I was trying to think of anything. I haven't really had any big barrier or breakthrough or anything this week.
Doesn't have to be big.
No, I know. I'm just trying to think of anything. I can't really think of anything though.
Making less pop. You were talking about that.
Well, I've been doing that for a while now though. So,
gotcha.
Yeah. I don't know. I seriously can't think of one because everything this week has just been kind of coast. Like I haven't really put myself out there this week. I haven't really done anything new this week. Yeah, I really don't. I can't think of one right now. Maybe I'll think of one before the end of the show. So
okay, no problem.
Yeah.
How about you, Mr. Heno?
That's been kind of I had my little mini vacation to Boise, and that was awesome. It was great to just get away from everything that I was obsessed in with music and stuff. But when I got back, I really wasn't all that motivated to get back into it, which I also find is a thing of mine. If I'm in the middle of something, I can so just focus, which is, it's a strength, but it's also a defect, that I can so focus on one thing. But what happens then is when I step away from it, which is a good thing to do, sometimes I have a very difficult time getting myself back to it. But I haven't wasted my time. I've been doing other things that need to be done as well that are, good for my, just my general well-being, and kind of just like doing the things that I'm supposed to be doing. Because when I focus on, whatever it is every day after work, or, something, they're all trade-offs, right? But what was weird is, and I already shared this with you guys, is one of my coworkers, her brother got into a horrible accident and was life flighted. And so she wasn't at work on Monday. And I found out, she sent me a picture of her brother on a breathing tube, and he'd had a head-on collision and had blown a 0.29, blood alcohol level, where they did a blood draw basically because he was unconscious. He was in a coma. But the hard part was he was at her house, and they've got some extended family that they're seeing now. And they actually tried to get him to not drive. They tried, but he did. And he stopped at a bar south of town. And it was after leaving that bar that he went head into a 2016 Subaru, which was the best news. Is it was full airbags, everything. These people were fine.
Wow.
Which is great.
Yeah.
So the reason that this affected me so much, well, it's is a coworker of mine, and she's just got it, her heart sometimes is too big. She'll do things to her own detriment. That's the kind of person she is. So, but it was no question that she was going to be there for her brother, that kind of thing. But here's the hard part about it. This will be DUI number 3. It will be excessive DUI number 2. And this one will be even worse because there was an accident. Yeah. He's going to prison. He just finished his whole probation from the second one.
Wow.
And it makes me so well, I used to, when I'd hear about this in the news or something, I'd be like, I'd have horrible thought, I'd be like, what a douchebag or idiot or blah, blah, blah. And now it's like, that poor guy. I mean, this is so, I know we, try to use, I consider when I was drinking, I was insane. And I don't use that term lightly. I literally was not in my right mind. And we've talked about this, about that whole, some of the therapies that you've been going through, Brian, where you don't know the true from false. Your reality is completely distorted.
Yeah.
And I consider it insane to have gotten through, and I guess he'd been already part of a diversion program called Rider Program. He'd been there. You get special, if you can go through recovery programs or whatever, you get less, sentencing and all this stuff. And after going through all of that, after going through everything, who knows how long he lost license, who knows how much time he's done, all this kind of stuff, that it seems like a good idea to pick up a drink. And it just baffles me, and all I could, before I got a chance to see her, all I could say was, I hope he gets the help he needs, because there are no more chances after this.
Yeah.
If this doesn't wake him up to say, me and alcohol don't mix, or to get through that, because it seriously is. This is what it was explained to me, and it makes so much sense. It's a disease it's a disease of the body that centers in my mind, in that there's a physical craving that occurs with people, with alcoholics, where once they start, they just can't stop. It's physically craving, but then there's all this mental stuff. There's just this stuff in your head that, like, just these ideas of, like, reality is distorted, there's not, like, one thing I told Heidi is, like, you can't beat yourself up. If a person wants to drink himself to death, they can drink themselves to death. And if they want to get in a car, they're going to get in a car, and there's nothing you could do about it.
Yeah.
I guess
it really goes back to, like, we were talking a couple weeks ago about accepting others' choices. At some point, he's going to make this decision, and it's awful, and it's horrible, because not only is he making a terrible decision that could kill him, but he's also putting himself in a position where he could harm others. And, it's bad enough that if he was just going to do something, like if he was just going to sit at home and drink himself to death, it's terrible enough.
It's one thing. Yeah.
Yeah. But the fact that he could, harm other people makes it even worse. It's hard to accept that, Yeah.
Yeah. And I just hope that he gets finally the clarity to realize that these are two components that don't mix for me, that I can't do this, because this is what always happens. There's people that I know in recovery, they tell me that the day that they realize that, I try all the time to go back and have a drink, and no matter what happens, when I look back at the last, whatever it is, 4 or 5 years of trying to get sober, every single time I drank, I either ended up in the hospital or in jail.
Yeah.
And that it finally clicked that, oh, I shouldn't do this. And that's why I like this idea of, people argue whether it's a disease or not, but I like the idea of an allergy, because here's something that, an allergy is when I consume something and it disagrees with me. Well, I can't think of anything more disagreeable than what lands you in handcuffs or really weird sexual positions. But anyway,
That's a pretty severe
True enough.
allergy.
Yeah, true enough. Yeah.
If I break out in 3 ways in handcuffs, come on. No, just put a little light on it. But it was, I don't know why it just affected me. And it was probably because, I have, somebody that I consider a friend is really hurting, and this is, it's her brother. And then it's weird how just like this really messed with me yesterday. I go to Debtors Anonymous meetings because I have some real retail therapy issues. But it's more than that. It's about having clarity with my finances and things like that. And dealing with years of, when I realized, there was a point where I just realized, I'm not taking it with me. So, who cares? And I got myself, and that's how I paid for jet skiing. It's how I paid for a lot of stuff is it went on to credit cards, and, I'm paying those off and trying not to do it again. But, my group started an evening meeting on Tuesdays for Under Earners Anonymous. And what they do is they do a crossover the first meeting of the month. So the first meeting of the month is a DA UA, and then the other 3s are UAs. And so I went, And it's a great group of people that I know it's a group of people I can be very honest with. And I sat there, and now one of the things with 12-step groups is they want you to have a singleness of purpose, meaning that you identify yourself for what you're in there for. And I'm like, all right, why am I even in here? I'm like, I have a job. It pays really well. It allows me to pay, I have nothing. So they do all these meetings. They always do a reading, and they did the symptoms of under-earning. And it was like one symptom after another had to do with me and music. And I have a business. I mean, I honestly have a business with the state of Idaho, the whole deal. I pay taxes. I do have some income, but I realized that this could be a second source of income for me, and I'm sabotaging myself. And I seriously, I almost broke down and cried last night because it was so profound. It's just, I'm grateful that my ears are open to these things now. Like when I walk into a room and people are talking, I'm looking for the similarities, not the differences. I'm not saying, oh, I'm not like that. I'm actually looking like, okay, is this something for me? Because then I can honestly say, you know what? I just don't connect. No problem. I'll see you later.
Yeah.
But it was, I undervalue myself. I give away my talents. I put off my personal projects that I really want to do in order to do things for other people, and I don't get compensated for it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I just sat there and I was like, why am I doing this? And there's nothing I can do about it now because I'm not in that. I'm finishing up my personal project right now, my passion project. But when that's over, I have to really look at this stuff.
Yeah.
Because a lot of it comes down to old habits of people pleasing, and man, the one thing I heard last night, and I shared it briefly with you guys on the kick group, is the time drunk. And I was like, what are you talking about? Because I hear of time debting, and because that's part of under earning is not utilizing your time properly. But she said, when I sit there and go, oh yeah, no problem. Yeah, it'll take me about a day, and it takes 3 weeks.
Yeah.
That means you're time drunk.
Yeah.
Or when you put something off and you actually have fear and anxiety about it, and when you finally get around to doing it, it takes you all of 5 minutes and it's done.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm horrible with that part of it.
I can so relate to that.
Yeah.
I'm a time drunk.
Yeah.
I have a bizarre perspective when it comes to time. At any rate, I walked out of there and I was in a total funk. I just got home and I just laid on the couch and watched bad TV and took a bath, and it really got to me. It really, really got to me. But what's funny is today at work, there's this one thing that I've been putting off for a while, and I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Because it literally involved taking some cutters and cutting into a line of a snow melt line. And it's just one of those things where I'm about to break something on purpose. And it ended up working.
Clarified that though, because taking a cutter and cutting into some lines could have gone to a whole different place.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it could. Yeah. Woo!
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I don't know why I've had this, but life is good. You know what I mean? I was today, half my coworkers aren't there. So I'm doing the garbage rounds. I'm doing this, and I don't care. I don't care what I'm doing. If I'm picking up the trash for somebody, I'm just like, this is great. I get to be useful, and in my heart, I feel good. But there's this work is never done. It just isn't, and I'm thinking, and that's okay. That's what I thought about today. I thought about how, Bryan, when you and I talked about what gives me joy are those little epiphanies and those awakenings. Last night's awakening didn't particularly give me joy.
Right.
Didn't.
Yeah.
But it did.
Yeah.
Because I know there's a solution. So what's amazing is I realize I can take that whole list of symptoms, write them all down, and start doing some writing on it.
Yeah.
There you go.
Right away.
Yeah.
I can write down one symptom and say what I need to do differently. And that's getting into a solution, and that's better than the way I used to do things. So,
yeah, right.
And that's how I can claim a win is I am so grateful that I've been taught a way to look at these things as it's not a beat down, it's an opportunity.
Yeah.
And when the time comes, I'm going to need a lot of help, because a lot of the things that I realized last night, and I think that's why I got into a funk, the things I realized last night are things I'm not going to want to do.
Yeah.
I'm going to want to do it. I'm not going to want to look at a friend of mine and say, that's going to cost $150.
Right.
And so I read something where someone said, well, if they're a real friend of yours, they'll have no problem giving you $150 for doing a job. And I went, yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. It's really difficult though. And I don't know if you've ever noticed, I off and on will post something on Facebook, or I'll retweet something that is to that effect, that'll post about, like, if you have a talent, don't give it away. And it's because when I was in college, a lot of, even in high school, I was in commercial art in high school, and a lot of times the teacher would be like, hey, this local business is doing this thing, and the whole class has to do like an advertisement thing for them, or a logo design. And I was like, well, what do we get? Oh, you get portfolio. And I'm like, we should get paid. And well, it's good for your portfolio. I'm like, I'm in high school. Like, my portfolio is just beginning to develop. Yeah. Like, I'm not looking to get a job tomorrow. I should get compensation for this. Like, even if it's whatever the business is and they give me a gift card to their business, or there should be some sort of compensation for this. And I was kind of that way, and the teacher didn't like it. And I was like, I'm providing a service though. Like, we all are. No different than if someone were looking for a contractor. We all are putting in bids, basically, and whoever they choose should get a compensation for, their work. And I've done that off and on, and I'll see that from time to time, and I see it all the time, like with these t-shirt companies. They'll be like, oh, submit your designs and you'll get, like $100 or something. And I'm like, they're going to sell so many shirts. $100 is not worth it. Those kind of things. And it makes me not mad, but it's like, these people are getting taken advantage of, and they're like, well, you'll get exposure. And exposure is the word exposure is such an overrated word when it comes to these things, because it makes people think they're going to get something out of it. But many times you don't, But like you said, it's hard to tell a friend it's going to cost you $150, and I've had people, hey, will you design a tattoo for me? Or hey, can you come up with a logo for me? And I'm like, in my head, I'm kind of going, I don't mind necessarily, but I kind of should get some compensation for it. And that's why, and I think when I asked you to do a song for us, I'm pretty sure I asked you if it would cost me anything. If I didn't, I feel bad that I didn't, but I usually will ask people that, because I always feel like I should give something for talent, So.
Now, I will say, with everything here, I think there's a couple of really good key points. One, there's a difference between a gift to a friend and you doing something for free. So you have to take consideration. So, if it's someone you're close enough to that you would give a $150 gift to, giving them a $150 gift of your service, there's nothing wrong with that. So don't shy away from necessarily gifting your talents, but make sure that you recognize the fact that it is a gift that you are giving them.
Yeah. And there are things that can come of like when people talk about promotion, and there is networking, there's promotion, there's just whatever, practicing your tools, or just feeling good. All right. There are rewards, but I need to start looking at it as like, okay, when is there really a reward, and when is there none?
Right. And that kind of goes back to what I was saying about the exposure, Like, is it really exposure, or are we just, realistically, like with podcasts, you could tell anybody you want as a guest, oh, it'll help your exposure. And they could go, well, how many listeners do you get? And then they're like, oh boy, because now you're caught in the trap, basically, because if you only have 20 listeners, they're really not getting any exposure out of your podcast, And that was kind of what I've seen with some of these, like these contests or different things when they promise exposure for your trade, whether it's music or, radio stations. Oh, write a jingle and you'll get this. And it's like, you're getting the better end of this deal by a long shot, kind of a thing. So yeah, just be aware of it. That's all it is. If you're a person with talents that you're giving, just be very aware of what your value is versus that. And also, if you're giving to, realistically, if you're giving your values to charities and stuff like that, you sometimes can write that stuff off on taxes too. I'm just want to point that out.
Yeah. There's bartering and, it doesn't have to be a financial exchange.
No, absolutely not. Yeah.
But I think, Hanno, you said it perfectly, which is, there's value in what you're getting in return. You just have to identify if the value that you're getting in return is worth the value that you're giving. Yeah. So you have to find that balance. Now, the other thing is there's a big difference between someone taking advantage of you and you letting someone take advantage of you.
Exactly.
Huge difference, everybody.
Nobody has taken advantage of me.
Right.
You have let them take advantage.
Yes. No,
they didn't intend to. It was completely on you.
Yeah, no, that's the thing, and that's actually the greatest thing. Yes. Because if it's on me, well, guess who can change me? Me. Yeah.
Yep.
If it's on you, I can't change you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But I know I can work on me.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that's good.
And a huge, huge tip for people out there with intangible skill sets. So, when you're offering a service such as, Bryan with your art and Hanno with your musical art, having a business that you go by, even if it's not a legitimate business like you have, Hanno, with the state, even if you create your own separate business identity, and when people start talking to you and they want to, quote unquote, hire you for a position, that's what you need to go to, is start talking more instead of taking out of the friendship realm and making it more about a business transaction. And by setting those rules, and I'll use your setup, Hanno, that you will keep going to, is if you're changing the rules, you got to let everybody know. If someone's coming to you and saying, "Hey, I want to see if you can do this for me," say, "Absolutely. I just restructured my company, so let me put my business hat on." All right, you're talking to Hanno, the business guy. So, the Hanno the business guy says...
Hanno, I want you to get a hat that says Hanno the business guy. I don't care what kind of hat. You can choose the hat. I just wanted to say Hanno the business guy.
So it's going to be BIZNES.
Of course. Yeah.
Of course.
A fedora with the little, what the reporters used to do, with the little, paper...
little card thingy, or whatever that
card
was.
Thing set in the side, yeah. But, that makes life so much easier for both parties.
Right.
Because all of a sudden, instead of it being in the friendship zone, it's in the work zone, and people can recognize that, and they will adjust to that.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, because what happens is, and I know Hanno's been through this, I'm sure, is you do get an element of people knowing that you have a talent, and since they know you, your friends, whatever, they kind of expect that you'll just do it, a little bit. Like they'll kind of lean on that, oh, I got a buddy that'll do that for me, or something at some point. And, and most of the time, like you said, you may not care because they're your friend, and sure, it won't take me very long or whatever, but that's where the time drunk thing comes in. And, and not to mention, maybe you just don't have time for it. That's the other thing,
Yeah, it's also just choice.
Yeah, maybe I don't want to do it.
It doesn't interest you.
Yeah,
and charge accordingly. If it's something you're not interested in.
You talk about something that's difficult is charging accordingly. because you
yeah.
take a person and go to a local art show and try to get them to buy an art piece. Yeah. It's very difficult.
Well, so here's the things that are hard is many of us, especially if we are doing something with friends, we may kind of know something about their financial situation.
Yeah.
We may want to interject that, or we might have an inordinate sense of like, oh, well, I don't want to overcharge people. I want to, and I've had that with like, this stuff's a no brainer with my day gig.
Yeah.
I will tell you exactly how long something will take. If somebody wants it done sooner than I think I'll say, no, that's going to take 4 days. That's it. You know, and I'll lay out exactly what it is. I know exactly how, approximately how much something costs because I know how long it takes, and I know what that dollar value is. I have no qualms about it. I have no desire to like discount anybody. I don't have an issue. But then when it comes to things that are stemmed off of maybe a hobby or a passion or whatever that is, or even if I'm just doing some maintenance work on the side, all of a sudden I'm wanting to give them a deal or underdo this or, shave a little off of that or blah, 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 this or that, or, whatever it is. And it's like, I realize I'm not alone in this. There's a lot of people that are like that. It's hard for them.
Yep.
It's hard for me too. I mean, it's hard for everybody. Now, the other thing to think of, and this is one that's universal, it's helping someone move.
Oh God, that's one.
Yeah.
Boy, I learned the hard way on that one.
Yeah. Hey, help me move. I'll buy some beer and pizza. Right. And you're helping them all day.
Hey, you have a truck. Yeah. So
yeah.
I'm like, you have a credit card. Go rent a U-Haul.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, and it's so funny when you change, even if you're just joking around with it, making light of the whole situation. When you bring something into a business format, it's amazing how much easier everything becomes.
Yeah.
Like you just mentioned, Henno, the whole thing. If someone comes to you and says, and talks to you about your business that you're working for, it's no problem. When you take it into the personal realm, there's the problem. Well, take it out of the personal realm and bring it to a business realm. If someone asks you to help them move, say, great, I'm Henno's moving service.
Yeah, exactly. Put that hat on.
Right.
Right. You put the moving service hat on. Like, okay, let me let you talk to the CEO of Henno's moving service. Okay, our daily special is
right.
All right. Free service for a pizza, beer, and cost of gas. And stuff like that. It's like, you throw me $20 or you throw me $40, given the current rate of gas, which is $40 for the gas tank and feed me. I'll be more than happy to help you. I'll give you my day. Whatever it is, don't be afraid to put that out there and use humor as a massive tool that you have in your pocket.
Yeah.
They use that humor, they'll laugh, but they'll get the message.
The reason nobody does that with moving, though, is because you always just do it because you're like, well, I'll do this because when I need to move, they'll help me.
Yeah, until I realize that whoever I'm helping move does not have workers' comp.
Yeah.
So I'm just like... After 35, it was like, oh, hey, what do you, no.
Yeah.
I'm just like, no.
I've straight out told people no. Yeah.
I just don't. I won't do it. That's why, and I know which friends, I have friends that I have these relationships with already, and they're the greatest examples I have. They're the people that won't let me get away with giving something away. They're the ones that always remind me that this is the thing that you're supposed to be doing. And I go, thank you. And the main thing about it that really ties me into kind of mental health issues is when I decide to give something away, my anxiety goes through the freaking roof. But if I do a transaction like we're talking about where, hey, all right, I'll do this and I'll get this, it's very clear and I don't get anxiety over it. And I tend to be a little more I show up on time, and the time is important to me, and I take it. There's a certain level of serious, but when I'm giving stuff away, I all of a sudden just like that, it starts to build up, and I literally go into fear, and I just want to like hide under the pillow and not leave. So I'm like, why did I agree to this? I know this is not going to be good,
Right.
Because it's funny how like we're this whole conversation is all about honoring yourself again, honoring your value, and also honoring being truthful, not only to myself, but to other people. And it's weird how that's not always easy.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
And I mean, you've mentioned it before, and something that I'm actively dealing with right now is I'm going and I'm at the point now that I have to start a registry and start registering for gifts, which to a lot of people is like, oh, fun, you get the gun, you go and you scan things, great times. I have so much anxiety, and so does my fiance, because we're like, no, we're givers. We're not receivers.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you mean I have to ask people for big, expensive things? Yeah. What? And then what are they going to think about me? Do I put not enough, do I put just cheap stuff on there so they think I'm not, I don't value good things? Do I put too expensive stuff on there? But then they think that I'm asking for too much. What's too much? What's not enough? And you put a variety of things on there. Great. Are they going to criticize my choices? What if someone like looks at something I put on my registry and thinks it's ugly? Or why would they want this junk? All of these things that go on through your head, and it's like, whoa, wait a minute.
According to the distorted thinking worksheet, that's called mind reading, and you should attempt to make yourself stop doing that.
I heard this exactly last night because a friend of mine in the program is going to get married, and someone has offered to basically pay for the reception, and she's in tears over it.
Oh wow!
Because because it's overwhelming her that somebody would want to do this.
Yeah.
And she can't simply say, and she's asked, what do you want to do? And it's like, anything I want to do? And you're giving it to me? I mean, it's literally massive anxiety.
Yeah.
Over this. And I sat there and I went, I get it. I get it.
Sure.
I get it. Like just that there's the mind reading, like what do they want out of it?
Yeah, right.
What are they expecting?
Right. And what is the, and they're like, oh, get whatever you want. And you're like, well, what's the imaginary line? Like, if I go this far, are they going to go, yeah, exactly. Am I going to cross the line? Are they going to, in their head, is the line $5,000 or, whatever, like someone walking into a store going, buy whatever you want, or a dinner, order what you want. Well, if I order, the most expensive thing on the menu, have I crossed the line? Or do you truly mean order what you want, kind of a thing. It's a difficult, that can be its own set of anxiety on a, without anything else.
Yeah. And you know what it comes down, it just all comes down to valuing yourself. Because like with us, I know a big thing that I struggle with is I'm not deserving of these things. I'm not deserving of these people giving me gifts. They actively want to give me gifts. I've had people ask me what my registry is because they want to help me start my life with my soon-to-be husband. This is going to make them happy,
Yeah.
So it's not even like, that sounds really kind of backwards. It's not, I'm not being altruistic by accepting gifts, because there's in something.
But you are.
Yeah.
But you are, because you're allowing other people to be of service. And that's what I have to remind myself is when I hold in my pain, I'm not allowing other people to help me.
It's accepting a compliment.
There it is again. Yep. There it is again.
It's just accepting. It's the same thing. Yep.
It's saying thank you.
Yep. Exactly. Yep. It's the same thing.
It's so funny because that's why I keep telling my fiance, because he just mentioned it again today. I said, you have to find peace with this. You have to say thank you and find your own peace with this. We won't people are offering us money, just flat out cash. Just here's money. We want to help you. And we can't accept it.
Well, you can give them my email or PayPal address. I'll just take cash money all day.
I know.
Just saying.
And it's like, they're like, we want to help you. Here's some money. Or like, thank you, but, let's wait until we get things situated, or, making excuses, reasons not to take it. And it's like, what craziness in my head makes this seem rational? Like you said, Brian, it's, any other normal person, if you walk up to somebody and say, I shouldn't say even normal, most people, if you walked up to them and said, I would like to give you money to help you out, they wouldn't think twice.
Well, I don't know. I think most people would probably say, what's the catch?
Well, yeah.
Or a lot of people would. Yeah, you'd have, yeah.
But let's say you were somewhere where you didn't have and this is my mom and dad. This is what happened with them when they got married. They literally had the community come together and give them a wedding. Basically, it's like somebody went and found a hall. Everyone cooked food. It was all potluck. It was all like that. Okay, well, what's the difference between that and someone saying and you having more of a formal kind of a deal and someone saying, I want to give you a bunch of cash?
Yeah.
It's no different.
No.
It's the community coming together as part of an event. Yet there's this thing that happens.
And it's one of those things. It's in your head and stuff. If the roles were reversed, how many people have I given money to help them with their wedding?
Yeah.
Tons. I've actually gone out, and I'm a registered minister through the Church of Unity. Unity Church. Because a friend of mine is going to get married by a justice of the peace, and to give them an option, not because they asked me to do it, but just to give them an option and say, you know what, if you don't want to do justice of the peace, I'm able to marry you guys if you wanted to do something a little bit more along those lines. The extent that I'll go through for others, no bounds.
Yeah.
But when it flips it over,
And that's the same thing with I have no problem paying somebody if they're doing a service for me. Yet I have a hard time asking someone to pay me for the service I'm doing for them.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's so backwards and it doesn't make sense, I'm sure I could go see my therapist about this.
I'm sure you could.
Like, I'm sure we can get into my childhood and how everything, blah, blah, blah. We can get into that all day long. Or I can just do the simple work that I know I've learned how to do, and it's like probably a lot of it is on that distorted thinking list. A lot of it.
I'm sure I just pretty much read from it, right?
Yeah.
And I have a question for mainly for you, Jen. And I get into this in weird situations, but like that idea of when you're in a manic state, and to me, it's like when people start talking about ideas and this and that, and let's do this and blah blah blah, and okay, I'll do this for you, and and then when you walk away from the whole situation, or it could even be like a sale, it could be like retail therapy stuff where you're just like, oh, this looks great. Okay, I'll buy this and I'll blah, 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 blah. And you walk away and all the voices are shut in your head and you just go, what did I just agree to?
Oh yeah.
Because that's how I feel sometimes. I get so caught up in this moment, and the next thing you know, I've agreed to a bunch of stuff that when I walk away, my inner person is like, what did you just do?
Yep.
This screams, go hide under the bed for a week.
Yep.
And that's usually what happens. And, I'm not saying that what you've experienced with mania or not, because, I can't diagnose, but that is very similar to what I have experienced. And it's this crazy mind thing that happens, and you're just like so high and so super excited. Yeah. It's just, the world is amazing. Everything's bright. Everything sounds great. Your ability, when you're in those moments, your ability to make rational decisions on all the factors is completely taken away from you. And that's, at that moment, is why it's so important that you have support systems around you, or you find ways of gut checking yourself. Some people That's why, like, I think buying a car is a perfect example. You get so caught up and they're so good and so promising and so on the ball. You're just like, yeah, that's great. Okay, let's do this. Let's do that. Okay, if I buy today, I get this, I get this, I get this, I get this. And then pretty soon you're like just agreeing to this and you're looking at the bottom line. You're like, wait a minute, this price that is on the bottom line here is nothing that we talked about. But your signature happens to be right next to it now.
Yeah.
And you're just like, what the hell? How'd that happen? How'd my signature get there? You know, that's why it's so important then for the big decisions and stuff that you stop and you think about it, you sleep on it, you know, because it is very intoxicating and you do get drunk on the excitement and you don't realize what you do agree to. And more than once, then they call it buyer's remorse.
Yeah.
It's something that buyer's remorse, picture that multiplied by 10.
Yeah.
When you stop and you go back the next day after I've had a manic episode, I'll go back the next day and I'll analyze what I did and what I said and stuff. And so many, you know, palms to the head that it's like, oh, dude, why'd I say that? Why'd I do that? Oh my God. You know, and it's almost like watching a bad movie back that you're just like, oh.
It's like waking up after a night of drinking.
It really
Yeah,
is.
you're reliving the night before. Oh, why did I do? Yeah.
Exactly. And I call it an emotional hangover. You know, Bryan and I have talked about that a few times.
Yep.
You know, those emotional hangovers that you get the next morning when you wake up and you feel awful. From head to toe, your body hurts because you're just like, what the heck did I do?
Yeah, I have those a lot. Like I have this tendency to relive, you know, like especially if I've done social activities, you know, 2-3 nights in a row or something after I run through that, when it's done, I'll do it and I'll basically be replaying everything in my head. Why did I say that? Why didn't I do this? Why, you know, and it's just such a, you know, a down kind of feeling afterwards, and you know, and
it's horrible for you.
Yeah.
It's not,
for sure.
You should never do that. If you catch yourself doing that, you need to use your tools to pull yourself back out of it because it's a horrible spiral that you can get yourself into. But that's why it's so important that, yes, we're all going to have those moments of high and jubilation that we get into, that we don't make the best decisions and we have to kind of manage that after the fact. You know, that's a part of living. You know, we have to have those highs. But you just got to make sure that they don't become a pattern, they don't become a habit, and they don't last longer than just a few specific circumstances. But I get you, Hato. I mean, that's very similar to what it feels like, and it's a trip. And man, do you feel good when you're in the moment.
Yeah, because it's and I know a lot of it is that the people pleasing. I know a lot of it's the feeling like you're fitting in, like you're part of something. And that's why also like with you know, like we Bryan and I talk about all okay, I'm doing 5 podcasts in a row. Mm-hmm. You know, and you're into it, you're loving it. You're having a good time, and there's a lot of you know, like, yeah, this is why, and then there's just the crash and burn, and that was part of that. That's so funny. Like so for those of you listening, when we were talking about topics tonight, this wasn't going to be the topic, but now it's become the topic. Yeah. It's like, all right, Jen was right.
Yeah. I kind of figured it was going to go there.
I am man enough to say that. Jen was right. But like that, you get, you know, you're like one of the things that was part of this symptoms is the overworking and overdoing it, and then as a result, not doing anything and doing nothing. And that whole idea of, you know, the swinging again, you know, like I still love that idea, you know, the when you go into the hospital, the straight line across the monitor, not a good thing.
Yeah.
The bumping up and down a little bit, good thing,
right?
You know, but also the huge, not good, you know, and that's where I find that's been my biggest struggle, and I think that's why I, you know, for my part about, you know, drugs and alcohol, the huge swings was part of that deal. That was that whole deal. And it's like, I'll take less higher highs and less lower lows any day and just have a little up and down. I'm totally okay with that.
Yeah.
It's much easier to manage mentally through it, and it just, I miss the stuff. I miss the highs, and, I don't miss the lows, but I do miss the highs. But on the flip side, the payoff is so much more because I can be much more thoughtful about my decisions, much more thoughtful about my communications with people. And yeah, it may not be the life of the party anymore, but I enjoy the party more.
Yeah. You have more consistency too, I've noticed. That's for me. It's like I have more consistent joy, though it may not be as, extreme. And, and the thing I'm thinking about as far as like, you brought up this idea, of like people want to do something for you. I also think people want it goes back to that compliment thing. No is an answer. You know what I mean? Like sometimes I don't want to say no, but no is an answer. And that's also being respectful for somebody, because there's nothing worse than stringing somebody along with, yeah, I think so. Yeah, maybe, blah, 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 versus just saying no.
Yeah.
And that's also a thing that comes into these things when we have a talent or something that, where we could, we have these choices put on us, especially the more I think about it is when we have this idea, when we have a possibility to make money at something, that's something that we enjoy doing. Why that's the thing you should be making money at.
Yeah.
If it's the thing that you love.
What about the guilt that comes with that?
No, that's a good point though.
Yeah. There's a lot
It's true. No, there really is.
A lot of guilt that comes with charging money for something that you get personal enjoyment from.
And I think that's the root of my problems. That it's not so much, it's not guilt, it's shame.
Mm-hmm.
Which is like, and there's something I learned when I first got sober and I was seeing my therapist every week. I was realizing that there were a lot of situations in my life and I couldn't figure out what the feeling was that I had. And we finally worked through it, and it was like shame. I had shame about things. Mm. And I can't tell you why I felt shame, but it still went down to that value, self-worth, having some confidence, having some faith. But yeah, I think you nailed it, Jen. There's a weird guilt, shame thing in there somewhere.
And Bryan, how often have I told you that people value you for you? Mm-hmm. And you struggled with it for so long. And I think you're finally starting to come to terms with that.
Yeah. I still struggle with it a lot. It's amazing. And I think it's an issue for a lot of people. Like to just, whenever people do something, like even what you were just saying, with the wedding stuff, when people just do really nice things for you and don't expect something in return out of it. It's just, like for Rose City Comic-Con, when, anonymous people came together to help Jason get there, that kind of stuff, listening to him talk about how much it meant to him that people thought that much of him to help him get there, like that kind of stuff, it's like, it blows your mind, that people are like, hey, I'll cover you for this, or I'll do this, or even if it's not financial, they'll just, whatever it is, it just kind of catches you off guard a little bit because, everything you read and you see on TV, a lot of it is people being horrible to each other, so it's, when you see these kind of things in your own life, you're like, oh, people aren't so bad sometimes,
Jen, Bryan, Sharon. I thought I'd let her know that she's on camera right now.
Oh, yeah.
So don't flip up your shirt.
But that's exactly it. Yeah. And it's amazing that people value you. And it's amazing when someone buys you dinner or someone, takes you out or does something nice for you. It's because they value you. And a lot of times they value you more than you value you.
Yeah.
And it's really tough when that comes to the situation where you're like, wow, they value me more than I value myself. And that should never be, but it is the case in a lot of people. And it's crazy.
That word value is back again.
Yes. That big V. Dun, dun, dun.
It's true. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
It's really what it comes down to.
You know, and I think that's the key. You know, if I was going to sum up the whole show, it is about value.
Mm-hmm.
It is. It's about valuing yourself and valuing what you are bringing to the table and what you are offering. It doesn't have to be tangible. It could be your laughter. It could be your humor. It could be your sense of being, your listening skills, your communication. You know, it's all of those things that make up you have value. And so often or not, we don't see that, and we take it for granted, and we don't notice it, and we don't, you know, but all of that stuff is important.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's hard to value, or it's hard to notice your value in those type of things, you know, as far as to yourself. You know, it's hard to notice that you're a good listener. It's hard to notice that you're a good friend. And, you know, so it's like if you don't have someone kind of tell you that, you know, those things, you know, you can think that you are those things, but you know, you can't have it validated, I guess, or whatever. But it's, you know, you don't know for sure without people telling you, you know. So
now we cross over into the whole conceit.
Yeah.
And, you know, in humility and all of those things that we were taught as children that rear their wonderfully ugly heads because, you know, as what term did we use before for it, Brian? Positive
narcissism.
Yeah.
Yes. Positive narcissism.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's identifying and respecting the value that you bring to the table, that positive narcissism.
Right. And just to clarify, we're not talking about clinical or diagnosed narcissism. There is a distinct difference in the two.
Yes.
Yeah. We're using the very generalized term of narcissism.
That's a whole different beast. Yeah.
With a large dose of humor sprinkled on the top.
Right. Definitely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Absolutely.
100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I have a what are we calling again? What my goal for the week, or what I'm going to do for the week that is tied to this topic is I have from the one friend that I have that's very upfront with me from a business standpoint. You know, that when I help her, she says, "Give me an invoice," and I give her an invoice, and she sends me a check. Well, I haven't gotten a check, and it's been over a month. And I just haven't, I'm like, whatever, you know. Yeah. But it could just work itself out. I actually have to have a conversation. So
right. Time to send some muscle. Yeah.
Break some kneecaps.
You just show up with a couple of big dudes, you know.
It'd be easier that way. Hey, I gave you an invoice.
Be like, they open the door and just be like, I think we both know why I'm here.
And in all honesty, invoice could have gotten lost, could have gotten forgotten, could have, you know, all of these things. And she could be happy that you brought it back up because maybe she forgot. You're like, you know, oh my gosh, thank you for bringing that up to me. Yeah.
Oh, well, here's the thing. She could have been looking at the stupid bank statement for a while now going, why am I off this much money? Hasn't everything been paid? It's like, no, one thing hasn't been because the P.O. box number was wrong on the something or other. I mean, who knows? At any rate, it's just, that's my thing. I need to do that because that is honor, you know, it's honoring, our friendship more and our business relationship, and it's honoring myself and my value. I did something 2 months ago. Mm-hmm. It was worth something.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep. And if you're going to treat this as any sort of a business in any way, then you need to collect payment in a timely fashion. You know, I mean, that
tends to be the number one thing when someone comes in and looks at a company's books. It's like, you let people get away with not paying you for a long time. Yeah. Let's fix that.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You always hear it.
Yeah.
You know,
absolutely. And don't forget to use your humor. You know, very simply, you could always go back there and go, hey, my accountant was knocking on my door the other day, or my accountant called and said that my books are off, so I just wanted to touch base with you, and use that humor because it gives them an out, it gives you an out, and it takes the brevity of the situation up, so that it's not, hey, look, you said you pay me and you didn't pay me, and blah 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 blah.
It's not that.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. It should never be that. It doesn't have to be that.
Right.
Yeah.
No. Make it light but purposeful. So.
And if that doesn't work, then show up
I'll
with some muscle.
Yeah.
Bring the dogs with you. You can tell your.
Yeah.
I don't think the dogs are going to intimidate anyone. Unless they have a dog allergy. That's about the only way.
Oh, man, that doesn't even work. Jax is hypoallergenic.
Oh, well, yeah. You're just,
Go lick him to death or something.
Maybe if they have a peanut butter allergy, you rub him down or something. I got nothing.
I sprinkled my dog with peanut powder.
Yeah. Keep him away. I'll get your money.
It's shellfish.
Yeah.
Hey, I bathed my dog in fish sauce.
Yeah.
For his silky smooth skin.
Naturally. That's how it's done.
Oh, you're allergic to fish, I hear.
Yeah. Be a shame if he was turned loose in your house. You'll get your dang money.
Oh, that's too funny. Well, we're probably approaching an hour, aren't we?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Oh, my goodness. It goes by so quick. Well, I guess this is a good enough time as any to kind of wrap up, I guess. So if you want to continue the conversation with us, I would love to hear from you. You can reach me at Jen's Crazy Life on Twitter. It's GEN, everybody out there. And you can also shoot us an email at thecrazylifepodcast@outlook.com. Or you can reach us on our website at thecrazylifepodcast.weebly.com. And Bryan, how can they reach you?
You can also reach the show Twitter where I post when a new episode goes up at The Crazy Life Pod on Twitter. You can find me at Stunami on Twitter. You can find my other show, which is Salty Language, at salty_language on Twitter or at saltylanguage.com.
Awesome. And you, Henno?
And you can find me at Ida Henno on Twitter. And if you're interested in, paying me for some musical work, you can go to Monkey Tongue Productions at SoundCloud.
Nice.
And here's some of my music.
Shameless plugs.
That I do. Honoring myself.
Love it.
There you go. And there might be a new CD coming out at some point.
Yes, we're so close.
CD. Who says CD? Album.
I do like album. It is, yeah.
Album's classier. Plus, CD. No one uses that anymore.
Oh, my bad. I'm showing my age. All right, Bryan, you want to wrap us up?
Sure. As always, I'll tell you that we're not therapists, doctors, trained professionals of any kind. And this show is not a substitute for therapy. We just are three people sharing our experiences and, hopefully offering some tips or whatever that you may find useful. If you find yourself in a position that you think you need some help, please go seek out a doctor or a therapist or get a professional help and diagnosis. Don't self-diagnose because it can be harmful. You may head down the wrong path. Also, don't self-medicate. I haven't mentioned that enough, but don't self-medicate. Don't use not herbal supplements, but I mean, don't use booze and things that you find, go to a doctor, find out from there and set a course of action from there. Let's see. And also, of course, if money seems to be an issue, contact your Department of Mental Health or Department of Human Services. Many of them can point you in a direction of something that can really help you. Am I forgetting? And then, of course, if you're contemplating suicide, please don't call a suicide hotline number or contact someone in your support system or call 911, tell them you're having a mental health emergency, or do something along those lines. Just don't be alone if you can help it.
Absolutely. And Who are we a part of?
Yeah, I forgot that part. I knew I'd forgotten something. We're part of the Tangent Bond Network and also the Wicked Radio Network.
Wicked awesome.
And also, if you're looking for new podcasts, go check out, well, those two networks, of course, and also check out #PodernFamily. There's a whole bunch of indie podcasts that are retweeting each other, and actually, I think you can also check out @PodernFamily on Twitter, and they
Yes.
retweet a whole bunch also. And you can find a whole bunch of different shows from a bunch of different genres. And, you know, like I said, all indie ones, they don't have the backing of, you know, these big promo engines from some of these larger networks. So, you know, go check them out and maybe help out some of the smaller guys.
And as always, I haven't been mentioning it the last few weeks, but I want to make sure I mention it now. Keep breathing, everybody. Take a deep breath. Just keep it breathing.